By the way, he contributed total of $750,000 in total. It's called the American Engagement Technologies, and they claim that they use social media and data analytics to increase civic engagement. In fact, what they were doing was giving some money to another group called New Knowledge that spread misinformation that Judge Roy Moore was getting helped by the Russians. Total lie, total fake news, but they put it out there in fake news, and they also created these bots to make it look like the Russians were supporting him, right?
Absolutely. Look, David, let's put this in perspective. It was, during the hearings and everything, they said Russia and the Internet Research Agency spent a total of $100,000 on the U.S. presidential election. They spent $100,000 just on the Alabama election, and this is a year and a few months after the presidential election. And so the big question is, why didn't Twitter and Facebook pick this up? This was such a big race. This was the epicenter of everything that was going on. And so this thing, if you think it influenced votes in the presidential election, I guarantee you the use of these tactics, they modeled it right after Russia, the exact same playbook, get a bunch of bots, Russian bots following Roy Moore, use Facebook to create division and get people to vote for somebody else. This is textbook Russian influence operation, and they mastered it.
It really could have swung the election. I have no doubt.
No doubt.
I mean, everybody was focused on what they talked about, the prejudice that was involved in the Alabama race on Roy Moore's side, et cetera. But it was really, I think the Russian thing really did hurt him at a critical part of the campaign. And the other thing I'm wondering is how many other campaigns are there out there that this organization or these organizations, New Knowledge and American Engagement Technologies, how many other campaigns do they work on? Maybe this is just the tip of an iceberg.
Well, look, and you know what happens when it's successful? You repeat it, right? You do what's successful. So my concern is that if we don't get a handle on how we use the social media, you're right, it will be used over and over and over again. But here, David, the bigger question is, and I go back to, is we've had all of these, quote, lessons learned, but where was Facebook and Twitter on the identification of 1,000 bots that were created literally overnight on Twitter, and then all of the Facebook? Why wasn't this picked up by then when they said they learned their lessons, they figured out what went on in Russia, we had congressional hearings, and yet this is still allowed to happen? It almost makes you wonder if there was some complicity and a blind eye that was turned in this kind of election by the big social media giants.
Well, it also makes me wonder, and again, the conspiratorial mind reels, but we do know that this happened. I mean, this guy, Reid Hoffman, by the way, was honest enough to make an apology. He said, I categorically disavowed the use of misinformation to sway an election. So it was a good apology that he made, but it did happen. It happened in this election, probably happened in others that we don't know about. And I'm wondering if there's any possibility it could have happened with Trump. That is, whether they were sending out signals that Russian bots were at work when, in fact, it was this U.S. company.
This is one of the things that it's so tough to unwind. It's like a bowl of spaghetti. You don't know where it's going to end. You don't know where it starts at. This is transparency is the disinfectant. Sunshine is the best disinfectant. So we've got to put some more sunshine on this. There's got to be, everybody agrees that you need more transparency in how money is spent in these things. The bigger thing is not how the money's spent, is who are the firms that are doing this that now are modeling Chinese and Russian tactics on influence and malign influence operations and using them against us to ruin democracy and the vote.
Morgan, we only have 30 seconds, but speaking of China, this possible executive order that would cause a lot of carriers around the United States to rip out their Huawei and ZTE equipment. Do you think it's necessary to prevent them from using these backdoor chips that they might have installed?
Look, I think I came out of a law enforcement background, and we were building the National Public Safety Broadband Network. Nobody wants a Chinese infrastructure protecting American first responders or our military. So I think, it's turnabout's fair play. Sometimes an iron fist is better equipped than a velvet glove with China.
I think so. Morgan Wright, good to see you, Morgan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.